The TV show Game of Thrones revealed that Rhaegar did not kidnap Lyanna.
He loved her.
They secretly eloped, got married, and had a baby, Jon Snow. So many fans believe that Rhaegar was Azor Ahai, Lyanna was Nissa Nissa, and Jon Snow is the figurative fiery sword or living human Lightbringer. But some fans still believe that N+A equals J, or Ned plus Ashara Dayne equals Jon. In other words, they think that Jon Snow is Ned Stark's biological son in the books. But I found something that all but puts this debate to rest once and for all. Jon is definitely not Ned's biological son, even in the books. There are two ways to analyze the hypothesis that N+A equals J. First, we can look at R+L equals J, and the more support you find for that hypothesis, the less likely that N+A equals J will turn out to be true. We already made a video on this topic, and we hit on a few of these arguments from this standpoint. Link above if you're curious. A second way of analyzing N+A equals J is to look directly at it. Any flaws you find in it weigh heavily against it, and I found a big one. It's a line in book 2, a single line in book 2. Knowing what we know from every other book, I believe that this single line in book 2 all but disproves N+A equals J. But before we get there, we'd be remiss not to first briefly mention all the pro R+L equals J clues in this chapter, which also weigh against the N+A equals J hypothesis. So the chapter starts off with Jon and his buddies eyeing up the wildling camp. They can see their fire, and Corm points out that fire is life, but it can be death as well. George R.R. Martin often uses fire as a synonym for life, so this is a subtle nod to Lyanna Stark dying in childbirth. Fire is life, but it can be death as well. As the chapter continues, we get several references to mothers. First, a vague one, comparing the wind to a mother mourning her slain children. This might be a nod to the origin of the phrase, there must always be a Stark in Winterfell, like we mentioned in the last video. But then the mother references get more specific to Jon Snow. Stone Snake says that the mountain is Jon's mother. Cling to her, press your face up against her teats, and she won't drop you. Jon had made a joke of it, saying how he'd always wondered who his mother was, but never thought to find her in the Frostfangs. So now George R.R. Martin is literally alluding to Jon Snow's mother, and it gets better. After Jon takes Ygritte hostage, she asks Jon, "Who is your mother?" And he responds, "Some woman, most of them are." He then highlights that he never knew his mother. So George R.R. Martin is clearly telling the reader to keep his or her eyes out for clues about Jon Snow's mother. Ygritte then goes on to tell the song and story of Bael the Bard, which, it's worth noting, is a song that her mother used to sing to her. As you probably know by now, the song has several parallels to Rhaegar and Lyanna. Link above for the full narration of the story, but for the sake of this video, here's a quick reminder of the parallels between the Bael the Bard song and R+L equals J. The Stark girl and Lyanna both loved the blue winter rose, and if you didn't know, Lyanna died with rose petals in her hand. Both Lyanna and the Stark girl from the song died in or at a tower. Rhaegar and Bael were both singers. They both used a harp, and they both died in fords, a frozen ford, and what will become known as the Ruby Ford. And assuming Ygritte's version of the story can be believed, both Bael and Rhaegar allegedly kidnapped a Stark girl, but in truth, they both loved the Stark girl. So all of those are clues to support R+L equals J. Those clues weigh against N+A equals J, but I get it. Those clues aren't going to sway any N+A equals J believers. But how about this? These are the final words of the chapter, right before Jon Snow lets Ygritte go. Jon is standing over Ygritte, sword above his head, ready to deliver the final blow, and he thinks he could give her a quick, clean death at least. He was his father's son. Pretty suspicious, right? He was his father's son. It's a clue that Jon Snow is not really Ned's son. Alright, I'm playing with you. That's not the end of the line. Here's some more color. He could give her a quick, clean death at least. He was his father's son. Wasn't he? Those two additional words are what prompted this video, in a way, but not technically those two. It's the two that come after them. Here is the full paragraph, and the reason why I gave up any sliver of a hope in N+A equals J. He raised Longclaw over his head, both hands tight around the grip, one cut with all my weight behind it. He could give her a quick clean death at least. He was his father's son, wasn't he? Wasn't he? Remember, this is a chapter with several references to mothers in general, as well as specific references to Jon Snow's mother, having never met her, and always wondering who she was. But the tricky part is that the mystery is bigger than that. Jon Snow doesn't even know that he doesn't know who his father is. He was his father's son, wasn't he? Wasn't he? Nope.
You know nothing, Jon Snow.